Hello everyone, this is Ahan with yet another video. For this week's review, I decided to do Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Devils. The title of the book also has other names such as The Demons, The Devils, The Possessed. Whichever one that you may encounter, it's the same book and it's not going to be different. Before I go into the review itself, I must inform those of you that might not be very familiar with Dostoevsky's writing style or may have not at all heard of him before, and this is your first exposure to him. I must warn you that to not be turned off by by him being overly descriptive of every little thing in the book, because that will be a current theme in any Dostoevsky book. Well, except Notes from the Underground. That's a very existentialistic themed book, in my opinion, and it is also one of the other greatest works of him, which is shorter than other great works from him, such as Brothers Karamazov or Crime and Punishment. This book, The Devils, is right up ahead with those longer books that Dostoevsky wrote. So let's get into the review of the book itself. I will try to mainly avoid spoilers and just paint a very clear picture, or not a very clear picture, but just a picture of what the theme of the book and the story itself is going to look like if you decide to read it after seeing this video, or the chances are that you already read this book and just are looking to confirm your biases about what you just encountered during you reading the whole book entirely. Well, the theme of the story overall revolves around social unrest, political corruption, and this huge gap between the thoughts of younger generation and older generation, and how the older generation are happy with the state of the things as they are in Russia, and whereas the younger generation are trying their best to form these small groups to do assassinations, doing pamphlet distribution in the community in order to raise awareness from their specific point of view, and in order to make the current state of the things to change for the better. And this will be the main theme of the book, and the interactions that the characters are going to have with one another is going to be focused on this theme mostly. Another thing is that you gotta love the descriptions that Dostoevsky provides his readers with, and mainly that is for me the descriptions that he gives into the psyche of the characters and into their appearances. The theme that I think that it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was not present in Crime and Punishment, nor in Brothers Karamazov as I read them. And that was very important for me because it made the whole experience more graphic, which in turn is more pleasant for me personally, because in my opinion humans are mostly visual animals, and if you have a movie, you're going to better adjust to it rather than reading a rigid book. In my opinion, this book is very strongly suited in that it has those kinds of overly descriptive material for each character, so you will not run out of visualizing and having a very clear picture of what the characters in their entirety might look like. For example, Kirillov is a very isolated person who is viewed by the outsiders who are interacting with him as a weirdo, for the lack of a better word. And however, when Dostoevsky isolates him from the story and expands more on his ideas and his ideologies, and why he is writing on suicide, and why he thinks what he believes in and why he is saying that I, by killing myself, um, will become God. And I think that's one of the more interesting threads as well during the story that is totally kind of unrelated to the main theme of the story. And by the way, the story itself is um, a real story. It is a fictional story with fictional characters, but the events that happened leading up to the assassination of some political the assassination of some key characters in the political realm is real itself, but the other things, such as the psyche of the characters, is totally fictional and it is completely on Dostoevsky's side and is descriptive of how he thought of the characters and how he thought they would have reacted this was if this happened in a real life, which it did, in fact. Um, so yeah, so do not be turned off by the descriptions themselves because they are a very important part of the book and of the story itself, and it is like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, um, in which if you don't have 2 or 3 pieces, then the whole piece is lacking in and of itself of becoming complete. Therefore, you might feel left out because you decided to skip over 2 or 3 pages that were seemingly boring on a character like, say, Pyotr Stefanovich, and you thought, haha, I skipped some part of your book, Dostoevsky, but then you realized that this was probably not the wisest thing that you could do, and if you were more patient with yourself and with your reading, then everything would have come out as beautiful by the end of the book. So with that being said, the book is graphic, done, check. As interesting to my eyes when I was reading it because it showed some similarities between the state in which Russia was at the moment as a community of people who interacted with one another and who lived and determined the state of the political matters and everything else that might have happened during that time. With some of the key characteristics that are happening nowadays in our communities, wherever you might live in. Mostly I'm talking about North America, but no matter where you live in, you're going to recognize some similarities that are going to be uncanny at times and might astound you because you're going to be like, this dude wrote this book more than 100 years ago, and it still applies to the general scheme of things. And some of that is, of course, the intellectual gap that younger generation feel to have with the older generation and how they think of their ideas as the next best thing, and they think of the older generation's beliefs as being kind of outdated and in need of being replaced with something that is more relevant to them and to their needs. So this is going to be of interest to you guys if you just want some novel that feels contemporary, but it was written during the time that horses carried humans in carriages. Also, some other thing that was interesting to me was that as I was reading the comments online about this book, I realized that most of the people who gave this book a lower rating were complaining because they thought that this book contained some ideas that were difficult for the average reader, and they were complaining that, well, this book was just not for me, it was too long, or that it was more description and less story. And as much as I would like to agree with these guys in that the story itself, like the main noteworthy events that happen in this book, they might not come at around page 400-ish. So yes, whatever that you're going to read up until page 400 or up until the midpoint of the book, they might seem out of place and like kind of random in that they're just events of regular life happening. But I can assure you that I have read some horribly written books without any stories. I mean, not horrible in the sense that they were badly written. They were very artistically written for the thing that for the genre that they targeted. But in my opinion, if you were going to rate them on the basis of their story and on the basis of how well they delivered the story to the reader, they lack immensely compared to what Dostoevsky is providing his readers with. And in my opinion, just bear with the hardest parts and try to read them if need be. Read them 2 or 3 times until you get a good grasp of why he mentioned the things that he did. And most of the dialogues in this book also feel organic to me in that one character does not get 80% of the dialogue, and while the other gets only the 20%. And in that sense, it came very naturally. Every character was unique in itself, and I enjoyed it very much. And this is all I had for you guys for the review of this book, and I hope that you enjoy it. If you feel like that I have left something important from the review of this book and would like to discuss it, I would be more than happy to do so in the comments section down below. So until the next video, bye.